my name is Jeff. Welcome to dirtyshirt.info. We have a 2001 2500 HD Chevy pickup truck. The problem that it's having right now is that the door lock actuator is not working properly on one of the doors. And what that ended up doing eventually was just leaving my truck unlocked at the airport for about a week. So I need to get this thing taken care of. So hang on a minute, I'll show you how to disassemble it and get it in. First trim piece up front has two clips and then it hooks at the bottom. So that's pretty easy, just pry out here and here and the whole thing lifts out. For the control panel, there's a plug, fits like that. All right. And then there are two clips that hold this in, and actually both of these clips came off of the part and stayed in the door, and I had to work those out and reassemble them. So it goes on like that. So after the control panel's been removed, there's a bolt behind it that has to be removed. I've already done that, it's right here. And then there's also one behind the handle, located here, remove that. For the lock indicator, a little help with a screwdriver and it just popped right off. And there's the rod that actually operates the lock for the door. Alright, one last bolt on the trim panels underneath here, and then once that's done, the whole panel lifts up and becomes disconnected from the door. Once that is accomplished, there are two wires. One is the courtesy light back here that has to be dealt with. And it's always the most awkward part of the job because you need like 3 or 4 hands to actually work everything together. And then there's also a speaker connection to the tweeter up at the top. So you're kind of jiggle-jaggling things around and trying to, manage it in that fashion, but you do eventually get it and it comes off. So there's the panel. Okay, so I've gotten the panel off and there is a sheet of plastic that covers the whole door. Chevy calls it a water barrier. It's also a cold barrier, so on a cold day you can actually feel the wind coming through there without it in there. It's a double stick, real sticky type of thing. So I peeled it back about halfway, and then I just followed the rod for the door lock all the way back. And it's quite a long little apparatus, and it goes all the way back into where the jamb meets the car. And I can see the part inside here, but what I can't see yet is I can't tell exactly if I have the right part or not. So that's still up in the air. We'll go a little bit further in the disassembly and then I'll be able to kind of, do a side-by-side comparison. Okay, I'm going to undo the extension rods that control both the door latch lever as well as the lock. And if you look here, you'll notice that they're held in place with these white clips. These things always scare me. They're a little bit, they're old, and they're also very delicate. So I did hit them with a little bit of WD-40, and WD-40 causes grease to liquefy, so there's lithium grease on there. So the WD is just to help me get it out without breaking the clip. Before I put it back on, I'll add lithium that hasn't been touched by WD. So something to be aware of. That's why you don't take a wheel bearing and squirt a whole bunch of WD in there. Just liquefy whatever grease is left. Then the second part of it is that this little bit right in here, to get this rod out, again, you may look at this and say, well, I got to pry up on that. You don't want to do that. There's actually a slot on the back of this clip that if you just give it a little help with a screwdriver on the rod, it clips around the back. It's actually open in the back. And if I can get that thing to come loose, yeah. So once that comes off of there, then you just lift the rod out and you don't have to pry it up through its hole, because I can assure you that you will almost definitely break that. So now that that's loose, that's good to go. 3 bolts hold the latch into the door in their Torx. This happens to be a T27 sized. So I'm on the last bolt here, and I'm just sort of having to wiggle it back and forth to get it to loosen up, and then it should be free. There are rods that connect the outside door latch to the interior mechanism. To get that off, there's a plug that's right about here, and it's soft rubbery, so just a little bit of a screwdriver, and then there's a nut inside of here. So I'm getting ready to take that off so I can start to manipulate the door latch. The second nut that holds the exterior latch on is through this hole right here, and it's just a nut arrangement. There's a third nut holding the exterior door latch on. It's way up inside, and it's a 13/32 socket, by the way. I don't know what the metric equivalent is, but I can get my arm up in there fairly easily, and it seems to be going all right. So that's coming out now. I'm getting my first look at the actual part itself. I mean, like real live look, now that I've gotten the latch sort of loosened up. And it has the same type of delicate clips on here. See, come in here, right? So I'm going to back these off a little bit, twist them out of the way, and then the rods will pop out. But down in the hole, I can actually see the part, and what I'm struggling to see here right now is it the right one? I see a couple of electrical connections that look like they should match up, but it looks like it sandwiches together with something else. So there's going to be disassembly of the old part and then assembly onto the new part. Then the whole thing is going to go in, is what I'm seeing here at my first blush. I determined that the interior door latch needs to come off. It's one bolt, and then once the bolt is undone, the whole thing slides forward and then it releases from the door. So now that'll make the job a little bit easier to keep this rod from running into it. There it is. All right, start disassembling it and put the new part in place. Make sure I have the right things going to the right places. All right, the good news is that I have the right part here. At least I'm 99% sure. What I did find was that in order to disassemble the lock mechanism or the latch mechanism from the actual motor, there are these two for sure, and I'm not sure about this one here, but again, it's a Torx bit, and it happens to be a T10 that fits these. So these two have to come out, and then I'm expecting this whole thing to lift off of the motor, so we'll see here in a minute. In the middle of this project, I stumbled upon a tool that I thought was really great, and I wanted to show it to you guys here for a minute. I've never, I don't have anything to do with these people. I'm just a retail buyer, and I found it on a shelf, and I went and picked it up, but yesterday I actually used it. And what these things do is that they remove trim from vehicles, for example, or anything that you don't want to mar up. And I've talked a lot about that in videos where I'm always trying to protect that, right? So it doesn't look like I've attacked a piece of plastic with a hatchet, for example. And I used this yesterday. I don't have a demo video, but I wanted to call it to your attention. So what it is it's actually marked, it's called multiwedger.com. I haven't been out to the website yet, but go ahead and take a look at it. Here's what I did. I used a small one, which is pretty flexible and soft, right? And I dug a piece of trim out, then I moved to the next piece, and I kind of got out a little bit further, then I moved to the next piece, and you can see where it's sort of thicker here and thin on the edge, and you just sort of slip it in there and work it sideways, and it caused the trim piece to come away. It was awesome, man. I really loved it. I paid 12 bucks for these, so if that makes your job easier, go ahead and pick them up, man. They're great. Ran into a showstopper. I think I said before that I'm 99% sure that I have the right part. I have the wrong part, so that 1% got me here. And it's been a challenge to try and solve that problem. So let's look at the parts. This is the new one. This is the one that came off of the vehicle. And you can see right off that it has this white piece over it. There's an electrical connection here that attaches. And then what happens is that this white rod that's on the lock mechanism goes up inside this box, okay, and the orientation is like this, and that's how it fits together, and the new part just flat does not have that. After some serious Googling and so forth trying to find this part, nobody has that. The manufacturer of that part does not sell it. I called the dealership and I asked them, what is the deal with this? He says, oh yeah, guys come in, they've tried to cut that off, they've tried to do all kinds of things. He says that this white part is glued to the assembly and there's nothing that can be done there with regard to, you know, kind of resurfacing or anything like that. He said it either comes with it or doesn't. He called that the door ajar sensor. And so if the door's a little open or something, it dings or something. I don't know what it is, but in my mind, that needs to go back together. We do have, again, electrical connection, and I just can't find it, all right? So the way the Chevy dealership sells this thing is the entire assembly. You don't get just this, you get this, the lock mechanism, all of these bits and pieces that go along with it, and for the low price of $225. And after I got done regrouping over that price tag, he said, why don't you just try cleaning it? It has lithium grease on it. It is a little bit sticky, not its properties aren't together anymore. And just try cleaning it and see if it'll work. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, it's been about a week and a half or so since I finished this job because it was an intermittent problem. I wanted to give it some time to work things out, and I've done that. As far as I know, it's working. Let's come on, take a look. So key fob this thing, lock, unlock. Takes twice for the passenger, and we've had some pretty cold days, and I think that was a contributor to the problem. What I did to clean it was I took the mechanical part, not the electrical part. I doused it in WD-40, and then I took rags and pointy tools and things. That loosened up the old lithium grease. Then I re-greased everything with a brush. That took care of it. Thanks for watching.